Okay, so what we have here is a 1966 Mustang coupe. You can already see that I've already started to disassemble the car. When it arrived here, it was 100% complete, running driving car, all the bumpers, trim, and everything. The owner decided that he wanted to fix a little mark that he had on the door. And the problem we had was matching the color. So I informed him that we would have to most likely paint the back third of the car. And we'll go around to the side here and show you what this car originally came in here for. You can see I already have the fender off. I've already started some preliminary work. I didn't know I was going to be making these videos until I got deeper into this car. And then I realized it would be good to put this stuff documented on video so people can see kind of the pitfalls you can run into when restoring a car. What we have here, I don't know if you can see and try to put some light on it. You can kind of see right there, there's a little funny spot in the paint. Let me try to get some good lighting here. What had happened was the owner had opened up his door and hit something, chipped the paint, and tried to fix it. Well, then he finally gave up. Just wasn't working out for him. He took it to many different shops, and most body shops will not touch a car like this. For all intents and purposes, there's just no money in it for him. So what he did, he decided to bring it to me. He's a repeat customer of mine. I went over the car, and again, as I said, I informed him that we'd probably have to paint that door for sure and blend into the quarter and possibly blend into the driver's fender. Well, upon talking to him further, we started walking around the car, and he was unhappy with some of the gaps. There were chips, there were cracks, little minor things that for the most part most people would leave alone. But I guess he has had this car for a number of years and he decided it was time to do something about it. Well, that can of worms opened up shortly after I started. And I'm going to show you what we found. And this can happen. This can happen in a lot of cases, and this is why restoration work can be so expensive. It is really impossible to quote a car with an accurate number because none of us have x-ray vision and we don't know what lies beneath. So unless you have a car with hundreds of pictures documenting all the previous work, you're never really going to know what you have. Don't mind the green tape there, that's just marks for myself where I'm going to make my future cuts to remove this quarter panel, and I'll show you why I'm removing a quarter panel. And remember, like I said, this car came in here really just needing a repaint. When we're done with this car, it is going to be far beyond a repaint. And as we come around here, you're going to start to see why. As I had mentioned, he had some cracking. He had some issues with fitment. And we noticed that the wheelhouses weren't repaired right the last time the car was done. The lip was completely rusted away, and they left it that way. And as you can see here, I've already removed this quarter panel. And you might already start to see some of the problems. As we come in closer, you can clearly see, as I had mentioned to him, you can see the wheelhouse, that jagged edge around that wheelhouse. There was also an old accident repair. And all of this was hiding behind a brand new, almost brand new set of quarter panels. So the sad part is, somebody went through the trouble of putting really nice panels over top of junk. The reason he was getting the cracking is because the panel wasn't attached properly. And as we zoom in here, you can clearly see what I uncovered underneath. This is pretty bad. I guess whoever did the repair last didn't know how to do it or just didn't want to do it the proper way. So they hacked this apart. And as you can see here, here's a little section here. The silver stuff you see is just lead from when I melted out the lead in the joint. The body guy did a great job. He leaded all the joints and he did a wonderful job. But it's the work underneath here that you can see that just was substandard and actually kind of dangerous. This is a unibody car, and every part, every panel is structural. Every weld is structural. And as you can see here, all the jagged steel we have, when they removed the quarter panel last, they just ripped all that steel apart, shoved the quarter panel in the best they could, and welded it to the roof. They did get some welds, as you can see here. I'll point them out. There's some welds here. I think there was one here. There was a little one over here. But for the most part, there wasn't a lot attaching the quarter panel to this understructure, which is where it's supposed to be. And what you can see here, I don't know if you can pick it up in the camera, you can see this whole panel moves. That's not supposed to happen. These cars are designed as a unibody structure. As I had said before, everything is important. The quarter panel, as these things are assembled at the factory, the quarter panel is installed and welded to this support brace. And then the roof skin is brought down and welded to the quarter panel. So you have a real solid structure. All the load is coming straight down, right down to your wheelhouse, all the way around your wheelhouse, into the quarter, into the trunk drop, all the way around to your rocker panel, and so on. So it's transferring all the loads the way it's supposed to. Well, this one's not transferring any load. Like I said, you can kind of see here, this is a mangled up mess, and this is what I uncovered. And unfortunately, I uncovered this a lot. And this is the type of stuff that really causes restoration work. The budgets just go through the roof. When I'm done with this car, I have to make a whole new piece here, reattach everything there. This whole piece you can see here, I have a whole new jam because this thing is rusted and rotted. I don't know if we can pick it up on the camera. You can kind of see they had some patches behind here. Just all together, just put on wrong. And this accident repair, it's hard to see here. None of this is attached. You can see here, it just moves around. And the jagged edge that was left, the wheelhouse was never repaired. And unfortunately, we have the same problem on the other side, at least as far as the wheelhouse is concerned. I'm not sure how much more damage we'll uncover on that side. But let's just stick with this side. What I also found, and it's obvious this car was in an accident because of the repair over here. What I also found was the rocker had a lot of damage. So I cut the outer rocker off, hoping that was the limit of the damage. Now, as you can see here, there's the inner rocker, completely rusted into the seat pan area. And as we scan back, you probably can't pick it up. I don't have my light in my hand, but there's a hole straight through to the underside of the car. So we're going to be replacing the inner rocker as well. Needless to say, this is going to be quite an expensive repair job just to fix a chip in the door. As you can see, all the way around, just to look at the car, really nice looking car. Nice and shiny, the gaps weren't that bad, the bodywork wasn't that bad. There's some panel fitment issues, and one of the things he had on this side, which is one of the other reasons we decided to paint the whole car, was if we kind of come in close here, and I got tape on there, so don't worry about that, but the door gap in the back is kind of tight, almost to the point where it's hitting, and I've already reset the front, but this original gap that he had here when he brought the car was not straight at all. The fender and the rocker were touching, and the gap was really wide at the top. And as we come around here, again, you can see it really doesn't look like a bad car. But I'm sure when I'm done with this poor gentleman's wallet is going to feel the pain of somebody's bad repair. And that's kind of what we run into a lot. In the business I'm in, a lot of shops will tell you the same thing. It's really difficult and nearly impossible to give an accurate number to a customer on a car that comes in here for minor work, and then we end up with, like I said, what we have over here. And what I know we're going to find on this side might be as bad as the left side. So we come through here. This quarter panel was not welded back here at all. There was no welds back here. One weld here, one tiny weld in this opening, and they kind of snot welded it, as I call it, all along there. But again, you can see this wheelhouse. Nothing was attached. His quarter panel was almost flapping in the breeze for the most part. Here's another view looking up. You can see how mangled up they have the structure underneath here. And all this has to be repaired. This is a unit body car. Every weld is structural, so all of this has to be repaired. It's going to be quite an extensive job. There's going to be a lot of measuring, a lot of checking. Knowing that this car has been hit before, I have to do some triangulation to make sure it actually is square before I weld anything home. We also had a problem where this door gap was also kind of funny. You can't really see it because the quarter isn't on the car, but we had a very similar issue where it was tight up top and loose at the bottom. Here's this, excuse me again. Here's another example. Sorry for moving that camera around like that. Here's another example of some of the shoddy repair work. You can kind of see where, if you look real close, you can kind of make out the little tabs, not really tabs. We call them porcupines. That is actually from the MIG welder, there you go, blowing through the rust holes that were there. And they were doing everything they could just to try to close those rust holes up. But you see, the problem is they left the rust behind. So all of this was hiding behind a nice new quarter panel. And unfortunately, guys, this is actually more common than you might think. There are a lot of shops out there that pretend to know what they're doing. And customers pay a lot of money to these shops who think they know what they're doing. And then you end up with this. So imagine that. You spend all your money, sometimes $20, $30, $40, $50, $80,000 on a car, on a full restoration, show car, doesn't matter. And you get the car, and you get it home, and you look and you see this. Again, don't mind the tape. But you look and you see, hey, you know what? This car is really nice looking. It's really shiny. And little did you know, hiding behind all that work, all that nice body work and paint work, is compromised structure, rust that wasn't repaired, and just shoddy workmanship. So the best advice I can give people is do your due diligence with the shop you choose, not just with the car. You always want to inspect the car completely with lights, with your hands. You want to crawl around it. You want to find out as much about that car as you can. But you also want to check out the shop. You want to see their previous work. You want to see pictures, lots of pictures. What I give my customers, usually at the end of a job, they're going to receive a thumb drive with probably well over 200 pictures. And I document everything, as I will document with this car. And hopefully, if this series of videos works out, you'll continue to see this car progress from what you see now through the repair work and back to a finished car. We are finishing this car in the original Tahoe turquoise, pretty much bone stock, nothing fancy, but overall a really, really nice car with some bad work done to it. So I hope you guys stay tuned. If you see anything that you might have a question on, feel free to ask. If there's anything that I don't show in these videos, please just hit me up. I'll be more than happy to explain certain areas to you, answer your questions, you name it. So I'm going to get started here and start cutting off more on the other side. And as I cut things off, I'll get the camera, I'll start shooting some video of the stuff I've cut off, rather than bore you guys with watching me cut pieces and weld pieces and this and that. I'll show you through the steps is what I will do. Once again, thanks for watching, guys.